As the federal government prepares to open international borders this month, air passengers who fail to comply with the guidelines put in place to flatten the COVID-19 curve will face sanctions as the safety and security of Nigerians is uppermost. Still on preparations for reopening, the Murtala Mohammed International Airport put its COVID-19 prevention protocols to test with an international flight out of Lagos. Plus, the Accident Investigation Bureau asked Nigerians to avoid conjectures over the fatal helicopter crash in Lagos, as this is detrimental to the investigation process. This and more is what we serve you on the program. A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.
A blue canopy welcomes passengers traveling through the international airport in Lagos as they face a new normal. Temperature checks and baggage disinfection. Within the terminal are sanitizer stations to ensure that passengers keep their hands clean. This check-in area is for the boarding processes for Titan Airline, a chartered flight heading out to France. This flight is also a simulation of what will be after the September 5 resumption date.
And now, most of the people coming in there, where we say stranded Nigerians in Paris and going away with oil workers from Nigeria. So since the beginning of the COVID, there have been exchange of passengers between both countries. So, but for the fact that the airport is going to reopen, FAN is using this to test run what the situation is going to be exactly when the airport reopens.
Processing over, it's straight through immigration to access the final boarding point to wait for the Titan flight vessel, due many hours later. These are the 93 passengers on the inbound Titan flight. They all have their COVID-19 PCR test result. However, they still have to go through health screening and documentation. Health authorities insist the passengers must take another COVID-19 test in the country before they head out to their base in Port Harcourt. With the simulation over, the airport authorities explain what has gone down.
Automatic sensor taps, and then the soap dispenser sensor too. Then we had about 60-something sanitizing dispenser in different places, and after going around with the CA, we had to increase it, and we're adding another 68 or 72. So in essence, we'll be having almost 150 sanitizing stations scattered around the terminal. We ensure that they don't all come in at the same time. We are segmented in 20s so that we leave room, we don't have a crowding. Then hotels collects the form, we must have filled. Then immigration, you can see, is marked and everybody is on queue. Then the bags, I want to believe before all this protocol is finished, their bags must be out. So they pick their bags and exit the terminal. Then where they will need to check the tags, we are putting markings there too, so that at least people don't crowd.
There is still a bit of work left to do.
The departure and the check-in procedures continues. We've done appropriate marking of 1 meter social distancing. So when checking, and we've met with the providers, the SACOL and NACO, that's the handling companies. We've met with them. We have their SOPs that have been approved by NCA about how to handle passengers' passports, deal with passengers. But in all, what we keep preaching is ensure social distancing. Face shield are provided, counter shield are provided at the check-in counters, so that the handlers and the passengers don't have direct contact.
Meanwhile, when the borders finally open, visa on arrival services will kick in.
The visa on arrival, of course, is on now, right from disembarkation, to observe the social distance. And immediately after the port health again, the procedure continues gently. There will be no rush in the immigration counter henceforward. And the signages has been implemented there. So we now observe it strictly by the signages.
The airport authority says new advisories for airlines and air travelers would be rolled out to guide the resumption of scheduled international flights.
I would like to appeal to all international travelers to take the protocols that will come into place seriously by adhering to every one of them. This applies particularly to people who are outside the country and are planning to come to Nigeria. So pre-departure, we need three things. One, we need a negative COVID-19 PCR test. This needs to be done from a certified laboratory, an accredited laboratory within the country you are leaving. It should not be a fake result, because we will develop systems that will allow us to identify results that are fraudulent. And it needs to be done preferably as close as possible to the time of boarding. That is within 72 hours of departure. But we will still accept tests that are valid within 7 days, simply because of the difficulty logistically of making sure that everybody has a 72-hour window for the test in some countries. The second thing is you need to register on Nigeria International Travel Portal, which we are developing. So you register on the payment portal and you will pay to have a PCR test done in country at day 7 of arrival. And you will print out confirmation. There will be an email confirmation that will go to the passenger, and there will also be some sort of barcode that will help us identify those that have paid for the test. And then the third thing we will need is the health declaration form. This is the same health declaration form passengers used to fill when they arrive in Nigeria. We've realized that it's one of the main reasons why we have a lot of congestion at the airports, and we are changing this into an electronic format so that you can fill it as close as possible to the time of departure. You fill it in a very factual manner, very transparent, honest manner, answer the questions, and then submit. And this information will come to Port Health in Nigeria, and you can also print out a copy. So this will allow us to quickly clear passengers as they arrive. You will undergo thermal screening for temperature, and you will also be asked for any change in what you have entered into the health questionnaire on arrival. If there isn't, we will move on to immigration. You will pass through immigration. You will retain your passport and exit the airport. Persons that have symptoms consistent with COVID will not be allowed onto the flight, even if your PCR test result is negative. As we know, it depends on the incubation period, and you can still develop symptoms after you have had a negative PCR test. On arrival in Nigeria, you will be expected to present your copy of a negative PCR result and a proof of repeat test payment in Nigeria. We will also have within the portal the facility to be able to upload your COVID-19 PCR test result and submitting it electronically. For the moment, we do not have the infrastructure at the airport to commence testing at the airport, but we hope in the coming months we'll be able to make suitable arrangements, and we might even have a rapid diagnostic test that would allow us to have real-time access to results straight away. There will definitely be sanctions for failure to comply. Sanctions to the airlines if they allow passengers without a COVID-19 PCR result to board. They will be sanctioned on arrival in Nigeria. That is the airlines. For passengers that decline to do the test, at day 7, we will still allow them after day 14 to have the test done, after which their details will be forwarded to Port Health, Immigration, and parts of the security services. And it's very likely we will put in place measures to enforce this by suspending travel for up to 6 months or denied foreign travel altogether.
The Air Peace Hopper 5N BUV aircraft lands at the Akani Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, with National Assembly members, ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and other dignitaries for the official reopening of the runway for use. The host governor, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, and other governors from the southeast are also here for the event.
To God Almighty be all the glory.
Straight to the tape cutting ceremony and official handover of the runway.
We cut the tape to commission and open for operations the Akano Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, and to pray that may it be good for this community, for Southeast, for Nigeria, and for humanity. Amen.
Back at the tent, they all expressed their gratitude to the president for the prompt intervention.
As we celebrate today, I wish to put on record the profound gratitude of Ndi Enugu to His Excellency Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, our dear President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for his unparalleled support and commitment to this historic and timely critical infrastructure of gate, a clear testimony of his determination to rebuild the nation through the provision of critical infrastructure to stimulate economic growth and development of the Nigerian nation.
Others seized the opportunity to call for more international flights to land at the airport.
Our people will still the problem of traveling by road. The second is to increase the number of international flights and operators coming to Enugu. We expect that it will ensure that Emirates, British Airways, and South African Airlines should start coming to Enugu. And then the last one, to complete in good time the new terminal building so that we'll have a seamless operation at this airport.
The Minister of Aviation, who announced the approval of an additional 1 billion naira for the international wing of the airport, also says flights will resume immediately.
So the local flights can start from today, and the international on the 5th of September once the COVID-19 had opened the gates to come in. We are proud to say that this project being commissioned today is indeed a testimony to Mr. President's commitment to the provision of infrastructure in the country. I want to assure Your Excellencies that having delivered this project on time and on budget, we will focus on delivering the cargo terminal, the international terminal building, and many more. As a matter of fact, yesterday, Saturday, just before I left my office, I had approved and released the sum of 1 billion naira to continue the international terminal building being run by the Chinese.
As the airport reopens for business, air passengers are optimistic that this will once again revive the economy of the Southeast and open it up to the world for investment.
The Accident Investigation Bureau has been explaining why the 5-seater helicopter that crashed in Lagos last week has no black box. First, the AIB boss tracks the movement of the aircraft.
At 0920 hours, the helicopter lifted off from Port Harcourt Military Airport for EAN Anga Lagos Airport. 1145 hours, the aircraft established contact with Lagos Tower, reporting maintaining 1,000 feet and estimating the station at 1218 hours. In the ensuring communication, the pilot was advised of station weather. At 1210 hours, all local time, The pilot reported sighting the airfield and was instructed by ATC to report downwind for runway 18 left. At 1216 hours, the ATC tried unsuccessfully to establish contact with the aircraft. At 1236 hours, ATC was informed of the crash of the helicopter by a MMIA fire station.
The agency also added that the Quorum Aviation helicopter had a valid certificate of airworthiness. The Bureau also noted that investigations are currently ongoing and conjecture at this stage is detrimental to the process.
From evidence gathered till date, the helicopter has a valid certificate of airworthiness, CFA, which will expire October 29, 2020. And Quorum Aviation, as an entity, has a valid air operator certificate that will expire November 20, the year 2020. The standard requirement for an FDR is an aircraft, in any aircraft, is 10 seats. It is extremely important to note that the aviation industry is the most, as investigation into the crash continues, AIB needs and hereby solicit for assistance. We want the public to know that we will still be amenable to receiving any video clips, relevant evidence, or information any member of the public may have of the accident.
The concession of airports in Nigeria has had a long history, and over the years, attempts have been made to bring in private investors to inject money into airport development, but labor unions in the industry have always opposed it. Traffic gridlock builds in some of the roads within the airport as vehicular movement is impeded. The union say the manner in which the Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, is going about the proposed concessioning of some of the country's major airports is not in their best interest.
Concessioning of airports has a lot of problems, and we propose solutions. We say we are not saying don't do concession, but we give you options. We said, why don't you cooperatize fund? Float fund into the capital market. Fund can generate its fund to run the affairs of this airport. We have the capacity and manpower to manage these facilities to world-class standard. The assumption that farm workers have no capacity to turn around the projects of airport is not true. We are trained over the years to ensure that we manage this airport. We've been managing them for over 50 years. So what is the difference? What's going to be the difference now? They do not agree with that. We also offer the option of greenfield concession. Greenfield concession allows you the option of getting a virgin land, develop the facility to your taste, run it for a period of time, and hand over to government. That was also rejected by government.
All of us are united, and the united people can never be defeated. We are telling Nigerians today that aviation workers, TUC, NSC, we are protecting their mandate. Over the years, they have sold some of our assets, and the minister asked us, what are we doing? We were in a meeting with him. He said, Labour, what are you guys doing when they sold NEPA?
The payment of retirees is another cause for concern. Members of the union in Abuja are not left out as they are joined by the Nigerian Labour Congress President Ayuba Waba in the exercise. Apart from the fear of job losses, the aviation workers are also kicking against the government's directive to return all staff that retired from the 1st of April 2014 to PENCOM for the payment of their retirement benefits.
There is victory for us.
At the Ilorin International Airport, the situation is the same. Union workers are also up in protest, wondering why the cash cow airports are listed for the exercise.
We have 22 airports in Nigeria. 4 are viable. These 4 that are viable, most especially Lagos, what we generate there is what we use to pay the whole staff of the 22 airports. Now you want to single out the viable ones, which are the 4 major airports they are talking about, Abuja, Lagos and Kano and Port Harcourt. You want to concession those ones where the resources comes. And you said fan remains. Please, gentlemen, where is the transparency?
Here in Kano State, staff of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria also joined the protest. The aggrieved staff say they are fully aware of their losses if government has its way. While this controversy rages, the only successful terminal concession is that of the 13-year-old Murtala Mohammed Airport 2, which was designed as a build, operate and transfer project. This airport itself has had its fair share of trouble, sometimes legal, between the Federal Airport Authority and operators of the terminal by Aviation services. Over the years, industry experts have alleged that the major problem with attempts to concession the airports have to do with the fact that those who want to midwife the program are not ready for a transparent process. For an aviation stakeholder, the fear of the workers is justified.
The fears of the workers are justified because sanctity of contracts in the past has not been very good. If you look at the case of Nigeria Airways, what happened to the workers was very bad after the liquidation of the airline.
Beyond the fears, he believes that the Infrastructure Concession Regulation Commission should be allowed to do its job.
The only regulation that we have today, ICRC, to make this happen. Thereafter, hand over to Nigeria CAA. But under this experiment, I want to trust and I want to believe that the workers concerned will be well handled by the commission. What happens to the workers after? What happens to the workers during? And what happens even before? Where to start will be to access the situation of the workers.
While the RCRC has been charged to do a good job, there are still questions begging answers. Will the airports be concessioned along the new Chinese terminals that have just been built in their vicinity? Who pays off the loans to build the Chinese terminals? Government or the new airport owners if the concession sails through? This is where we disembark on the show. See you next time. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi.